I still smell it sometimes, late at night, when the house is quiet. That smell, burning hair, not from a fire, not from an accident, from something I saw, something I should have never gone looking for. My hands were shaking the entire drive home. They didn't stop for 3 days. Even now, even as I'm telling you this, I can feel it starting again. There was a corridor in that house. Long, dark, and at the end of it something was waiting. Something that knew my name. I want you to look at those eyes, because by the end of this story you're going to understand exactly what those eyes mean. My name is Daniel Marsh. I'm a freelance journalist. And in November of 2019, I drove to a village so small it didn't exist on most maps. The village was called Harwich, population 212. Or at least that's what the last census said. Nobody had been back to count since then. There was a sign at the edge of town, old, barely readable. Someone had scratched something into the wood beneath the village name. It said, "He sees you first." I thought it was a joke. My editor had given me a tip 3 weeks earlier. She said, "There's a man living alone in the hills outside Harwich. The locals call him the Keeper. They say he's been there for over 100 years. She laughed when she said it. I didn't. She sent me a photograph. One photograph, an old man, thin, white hair, standing in a doorway. I stared at that photograph for 20 minutes. I couldn't figure out what was wrong with it. Then I realized he wasn't casting a shadow. I told myself it was a camera trick. Bad lighting, old lens. I packed my recorder and my notebook, got in my car, and started driving north. I stopped for gas somewhere outside the city. The attendant asked me where I was headed. I said Harwich. He didn't say anything. He just walked back inside. Didn't come back out. I had a map, a paper one. The GPS signal had died an hour earlier. I circled the village in red pen. It looked so small on paper. Just a dot. But dots can be dangerous. The closer I got, the more the landscape changed. The trees got darker. The sky got lower. Even the road seemed to narrow as if it didn't want me to pass. And then I reached the entrance. An old iron gate, half open. Dead vines climbing every inch of the stone. No lock, no guard, just an opening. Waiting. The village square was completely empty. A dry stone fountain in the center. Bare trees surrounding it, fog sitting low on the ground. No children, no cars, no noise. Silence so heavy you could feel it on your skin. Then I saw her, an old woman, standing alone in front of a shop window, staring at nothing. As still as a photograph. I went inside the shop. Dusty bottles, old jars, a smell like something long dead and forgotten. The kind of shop that exists only because it hasn't figured out how to close yet. She came in behind me. I didn't hear the door. I just turned around and she was there, eyes wide, pale. She grabbed my arm before I could speak. She pulled me close and whispered, "Don't go to his house after dark. Whatever he offers you, don't take it. And whatever you do, don't let him say your name first." Then she let go and walked away without another word. I watched her go. Other windows in the village, I noticed it then. Faces, watching, not curious faces, scared ones. Every single one of them looking at me like I was already gone. I drove up the hill anyway. The road was steep, narrow, trees on both sides like walls closing in, fog thickening with every meter. The branches overhead blocked out what was left of the sky. I remember thinking, if I stopped the car here, nobody would find it. Nobody would even know to look. My hands were tight on the wheel. The engine strained on the slope. The fog was so thick now I could only see a few meters ahead. I almost turned back. Almost. And then through the fog I saw it. A window. Amber light. Warm and still at the very top of the hill, like an eye watching me climb toward it. The house was built from dark stone. Old. Very old. Trees twisted around it as if they'd grown to hold it in place. A narrow dirt path to the front door. No garden. No decoration. Just the house. And the light. I walked up the path slowly. Dead leaves under my feet. The iron door handle was cold, colder than the air around it. I noticed the stone around the door for me was carved with something. Symbols. Small. Precise. Like someone had spent years putting them there. The door was open. Just slightly. Amber light leaking through the crack. I could smell it from outside. Something sweet and wrong, like flowers left too long in water. I pushed the door open. He was standing right there, on the other side, waiting. Tall, thin, white hair to his shoulders, silver eyes, and a calm, the kind of calm that doesn't belong on a human face. He said, "Daniel," not as a question, as a fact. I had never told anyone in this village my name. I stood in that doorway for what felt like a full minute. His expression didn't change. He just waited. As if he had all the time in the world. As if time itself was something he had extra of. He led me inside. The room was enormous. Bookshelves on every wall, floor to ceiling, books I had never seen. Languages I didn't recognize, symbols that made my eyes slide off the page when I tried to read them. The spines of the books. I kept staring at them. Something was wrong with the letters. They looked almost like they were moving. I told myself it was the candlelight, the flickering, the shadows. I was wrong. He gestured for me to sit. A leather armchair by the fire. The fireplace crackled, the shadows danced. I sat down and immediately felt like each chair was too far from the door. The walls themselves, I ran my hand along one and felt grooves in the stone. Carvings, deep ones. The same symbols as outside. But inside they were everywhere. Every surface, like someone had spent a lifetime writing the same thing over and over. There was a journal on the table, open. I glanced at it while he had his back turned. The handwriting was small and dense, diagrams between the words, and at the top of the page a date. October 14th. No year. Just October 14th. He poured the tea without asking. 2 cups, dark liquid, almost black. I watched it fill both cups slowly and I thought about what the woman had said. Whatever he offers you, don't take it. The steam from the cup rose in a thin spiral. I kept watching it. It moved like something alive, twisting, slowly, taking a shape and then dissolving before I could be sure of what I'd seen. He wrapped his hands around his cup. Long, thin fingers. Too many knuckles. I noticed that and then told myself I hadn't. Because some things, once you see them, you can't unsee them. We sat across from each other. He smiled. I had my recorder on the table between us. He looked at it the way you look at something that amuses you, like a child's toy. Like it couldn't possibly capture what was in this room. He started talking. His voice was low, even, almost musical. He talked about the village. About how long he had lived here. He said, "A very long time." I asked, "How long exactly?" He smiled again and said, "Long enough to have met you before." I set down my pen. My hand was shocking gaunt. I didn't want him to see. He saw anyway. He looked at my hand on the table and said, "You always shake at this part." I hit record on my recorder. The red light blinked. He glanced at it, then back at me, and said, That won't work here. It never does. I left it running anyway. Later when I checked the recording there was nothing. 8 hours of silence. I realized then that the windows were completely dark. I had arrived in the afternoon. It had been maybe an hour, maybe less, but outside was black, absolute. I had no memory of it getting dark. My hands on the table. I stared at them, tried to focus, tried to remember what I had come here for. The story, the article, something normal, something real. He leaned forward, just slightly, and the candlelight caught both his eyes at the same moment. And I understood for the first time that those eyes had seen more than any human eyes should ever have to see, or maybe more than any human eyes could. He stood up slowly, full height. He was taller than I had realized. The bookshelves behind him seemed to lean inward. The room felt like it was breathing. Rain on the windows. I hadn't heard it start. The glass was black and wet. And in the reflection I could see the two of us. But the reflections didn't quite match what was actually happening in the room. Mine moved a half-second late. His didn't move at all. One candle. The flame bent hard to one side and I felt no draft, no wind, no open door. Nothing that should have moved it. The flame bent and held pointing directly at me. And then the books. I saw it clearly now. The letters on the spines were moving, sliding, rearranging themselves one letter at a time, and they were spelling my name over and over. Every book. The same name. The room tilted. Not much. Just slightly. But enough that I grabbed the armchair. The candle flame bent at an angle that was impossible, and the books leaned with the room, everything moving except him. One spine. I stared at it. My name. My full name. Daniel Arthur Marsh. Repeated in letters that were shrinking and multiplying until the entire spine was just my name pressed into itself over and over. He walked toward the cabinet in the corner. Slowly. Each step deliberate. His white hair fell forward slightly. His silver eyes stayed on me the entire time he moved. He didn't look where he was going. He didn't need to. His hand on the cabinet handle. He paused there. 1 second. 2.as if giving me one last chance. Stand up and leave. I didn't move. I couldn't. He opened it. The cabinet doors swung wide, and inside, pinned to every surface photographs, dozens of them. Different sizes, different ages, black and white, color, Polaroid, all of them showing the inside of this room, and in each one someone sitting in my chair. I stood up. I needed to see them closer. My legs worked now. Somehow, I walked to the cabinet, and I saw every photograph, every single one. The person in the chair was me. Different clothes, different haircuts, but me. The oldest one. Bottom left corner. Cracked edges. Yellow paper. A date stamp. October 14th, 1887. And there in that photograph, sitting in that chair, my face, my exact face. In 1887. I couldn't breathe. My mouth was open. I know because I could feel the cold air on my tongue. I turned to look at him. He was already watching me. He had never stopped. The room closed in. The bookshelves seemed to lean from every direction now. He stood between me and the door. I hadn't noticed him move there. He just was there. His face shifted so slightly, so briefly, but I saw it. Like a second face trying to surface from underneath the first. His eyes silver and steady, never changed. Everything else rippled. Those eyes, unblinking, looking at me the way you look at something you made. Something familiar. Something that belongs to you. What are you? I whispered. He didn't answer immediately. He tilted his head, and then his face changed. Not shifted, changed. Aged 30 years in a second. Became young. Became ancient. Cycled through like a machine testing. Different masks, only the eyes stayed the same, always the same. He took one step toward me. One. The Candlelight collapsed into shadows around him. The rest of the room went completely dark. Just him. Just that one point of dim light. Just those silver eyes. His shadow on the wall. It raised its arms slowly, while his real arms stayed at his sides. I watched it happen. I watched his shadow do something his body wasn't doing, and I understood. Then that what I was looking at today. Shadow more heinous than the shape casting it. He spoke. Again, quiet, almost gentle. He said, I am what comes before the end. I have always been here. And you, Daniel, you are my messenger. You always have been. You always will be. That's why you keep finding me. You don't choose to come. You're sent. Every time. Different life. Same door. Same chair. Same cup of tea. I tried to stand. My legs, they wouldn't move. Not at first. I gripped the armrests, pushed harder, and something in the room pushed back. Every candle in the room flared at once. Bright, harsh, every shadow sharp. He stood in the center and didn't move, didn't flinch, didn't blink. And in that terrible light he saw exactly what he was. The photographs in the cabinet, all of them, fluttering as if caught in a wind that wasn't in the room, their edges glowing, and the faces in every photograph. They were no longer looking at the camera. They were looking at me. I ran. I don't know how. I don't remember deciding to move. I just moved. Down the corridor. The darkness behind me felt like hands, not grabbing. Just reaching and almost touching. The front door. I hit it with my shoulder. It swung open. Cold air. Real air. I ran through it without stopping. Without looking. Down the hill. Running. The house above me glowing in the fog. And I had this feeling that he was at the window, watching me go, unworried, because he already knew he'd be back. I reached my car. Got in. Slammed the door. Key in the ignition, engine on. Lights on. Go. Just go. Don't look. Don't stop. Go. I drove down that hill faster than I should have. The steering wheel shaking. My hands shaking. The fog rushing past the headlights like white noise, like static, like the world was struggling to load. The rear view mirror. I never looked in it. The entire drive down. Not once. Because something was telling me deep and certain that if I looked he would be sitting there. In the back seat, smiling. The road straightened. The fog thinned. I pushed the car faster. The trees rushing past dark and close on both sides. And I kept thinking, what did I see in there? What did I actually see? The forest fell away. Open road. I took the first breath I could remember, tacking in what felt like hours. But even then, even with the open sky above me, something felt wrong. Still wrong. As if the house had come with me. In some way I couldn't see. My hands on the wheel. Still shaking. I turned on the radio. Static. I turned it off. Drove in. Silence. And tried to remember what real life was supposed to feel like. I passed through the village. Empty. The street lamp flickering. No faces in the windows now. No one watching. As if they already knew how it had gone. As if they'd seen this many times before. The highway. Other cars. Other headlights. The city on the horizon. I had never been so relevato. See something ordinary. I told myself it was over. I told myself, it's done. I told myself a lot of things that night. I moved to a different city. New apartment. New editor. New number. I threw away my recorder. Threw away my notes. Threw away the photograph my original editor had sent me. I tried to forget Harwick. I tried very hard. For 3 years it almost worked. I never wrote the story. Never told anyone what happened. I kept a locked drawer in my desk. I don't know what I thought was in it. I never opened it. I just knew it needed to stay locked. Then last month, Tuesday, I was sitting at my desk. Normal evening. I opened my laptop, and there was an email from my new editor. Subject line. Interesting tip, thought of you. I almost didn't open the attachment. Something in me knew. The same. Something that told me not to look in the rearview mirror. But I clicked anyway. Because that's what I do. Because that's apparently what I always do. My face going white. I could feel it happening. The blood pulling away. The recognition hitting like ice water. The photograph she sent me. A stone house. Top of a hill. A doorway. A tall thin silhouette standing in it. And at the bottom of the email, old man living alone in the hills outside a small town. Locals say he's been there for over 100 years. His name apparently is the keeper. I sat there for a long time, looking at the photograph, and I noticed, same as the first time, the shadow, or rather the absence of one. He still wasn't casting a shadow. He never does. I packed a bag. I didn't decide to. My hands just started doing it. Folding, placing, closing, like they had done this before. Like some part of my body remembered. Size 7 though I didn't want to. I'm driving again, different road. Same feeling. The trees getting darker. The sky getting lower. The town ahead just a dot on the map. Just a dot. I can see the hill, and at the top of it, a house, and in the house one window, amber light, warm and still, exactly as I remember. Like, it never turned off, like it's been waiting. This whole time, there's a silhouette at the window. I can see it from here, standing, watching me come. And I know that if I could see his face right now, he would be smiling. I'll let you know how it goes if you hear from me.